You ever wonder if ancient wisdom can actually help us with our modern problems? Well, today we're going to take just one single powerful sentence written almost 2,000 years ago, and we're going to tear it apart, piece by piece, to see what it really has to say to us right now. So, let's dive in.
And here it is, Ephesians 4:32. Now on the surface, it seems pretty simple, right? Just a nice little reminder to be good to each other. But as we're about to find out, the real depth behind these words is just staggering.
And that really is the question, isn't it? I mean, in a world of social media pile-ons and deep, painful grudges, a command like this can feel, well, a little naive. But what if it's not just some old religious saying? What if it's actually a practical blueprint for how to heal relationships and maybe even ourselves? So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the history, the context. Then we'll do a deep dive into the three main commands. After that, we'll figure out the why behind them, look at how to actually put it into practice, and wrap it all up with an absolutely incredible story of grace in action.
All right, so before we can even get into the message, we have to understand the setting, because this isn't some generic fortune cookie advice. No, this was a specific message to a specific group of people, and that's exactly what gives it so much weight.
So get this picture in your head. It's around 60 AD. A man, the Apostle Paul, is literally under house arrest in Rome. He's a prisoner, and he's writing not a letter of despair, but a profound letter of instruction to this new, diverse community in a city called Ephesus. People from all kinds of backgrounds just trying to figure out how to get along.
And here's the bigger picture. This command to be kind and forgiving doesn't just come out of nowhere. It's the grand finale, the climax to this whole section about personal transformation. Paul draws this stark contrast between an old self that lies and gets angry and tears people down, and a new self that's meant to build community up. The verse we're looking at, it's the absolute peak of that idea.
Okay, now we get to the core of it. We're going to break down the three key actions in this first. And to really do that, we've got to look at the original Greek language, because our English translations, as good as they are, just don't capture the full, vivid meaning of what's being said here.
First up, be kind. The Greek word here is Christos, and this is so much more than just being polite or nice. This is an active, intentional goodness. It's about actually seeking out someone else's well-being, even when it costs you something. You want a perfect picture of it? Think of the story of the Good Samaritan. That is Christos in action.
Okay, next is tender-hearted, and this is where the language gets really wild. The Greek word episplanknos literally translates to having strong bowels. I'm not kidding. See, in the ancient world, they believed the gut, the bowels, was where you felt your deepest, most visceral emotions. So this isn't a call for just feeling a little sorry for someone. It's a command for a deep, gut-level compassion. You're supposed to feel it.
And that brings us to the third one, forgiving. The word is charizomai, and is directly related to the Greek word for grace, which is charis. So to forgive, in this sense, is literally to give grace freely. And this is key. It's not about pretending something bad didn't happen or excusing it. It's a conscious decision to release that person from the debt they owe you and to stop carrying that weight yourself. So, okay, we've got these three huge commands. Be actively good, be deeply compassionate, and give grace freely. That's a tall order. So where does anyone get the power to actually do any of that? Well, the verse itself gives us the answer. It provides the why that fuels the whole entire thing. The whole engine for this is packed into one little phrase, as God in Christ forgave you. See, this flips the script. It's not just a command anymore, it's the motivation. It reframes everything from be kind because it's a rule to be kind because you yourself have been shown an incredible kindness.
So what does that model of forgiveness even look like? Well, according to the text, it's extravagant, like a total cancellation of an impossible debt. It's unconditional. It's not based on you being good enough to earn it. And it's all rooted in grace, a completely free gift. So that becomes the incredibly high standard we're then called to imitate in our own lives.
All right, so we've dug into the history, we've looked at the language, but how do we take all these big ideas and make them work, on a Tuesday afternoon when you're just fed up with a coworker or family member? Let's make this practical.
It really boils down to three choices. First, you practice intentional kindness. You don't wait to feel like it, you just do it. Small things. Then you work on cultivating that tender heart, that gut-level empathy, choosing to see people with compassion instead of judgment. And all of that leads to the final step, choosing forgiveness.
acknowledging the hurt but making a conscious decision to let go of the grudge, even if the feelings take a while to catch up.
Now, to see just how powerful and frankly how difficult this choice can be, let's look at a real-world story. This is the story of Corrie ten Boom, a woman who had to put these principles to the absolute ultimate test.
Just try to imagine this. It's after World War II. Corrie ten Boom, who survived the horrors of a Nazi concentration camp where her own sister died, is speaking at an event in Germany. After her talk, a man walks up to her, and she recognizes him instantly. He was one of the SS guards from the camp.
He doesn't recognize her, but he tells her he's since become a Christian, and then he holds out his hand and asks her for forgiveness. Can you imagine? In that one moment, everything we've been talking about, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, is put on the line in the most impossible way. She wrote later that she just stood there, and a coldness clutched her heart. She couldn't feel anything like forgiveness, but she knew. She knew that her own healing, her own freedom from the prison of her own bitterness couldn't even begin until she forgave him. So she prayed for strength, and as a pure act of the will, she took his hand. She chose to forgive. And that brings it all right back home to us. Corrie's story is, of course, an extreme example, but the principle is universal. We all carry hurts. So as we wrap this up, the real question isn't whether the person who hurt you deserves your forgiveness. The real question is, what prison of bitterness could you free yourself from if you were just willing to make that choice? What's the one grudge you could choose to release today?